Okay, welcome everyone to this Products That Counts webinar. I'm your host, Nisarg Desai, and I'm super excited to have you all here today. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, depending on where you are and when you're joining us and when you're seeing this now or in the future. I'm super excited to talk about GenAI today. But before we get there, a little bit of an intro for myself. So my name is Nisarg Desai. I'm the director of product management at a cloud security company called Lacework. And Lacework secures all of your assets in the cloud, in all of your public clouds, wherever they are. We protect your assets from bad actors. I also serve as the head of the Boston chapter at Products That Count, who is hosting this webinar for us today. Thank you very much. And I am really looking forward to talk about GenAI and its actual applications. So today's session will be a little different than what you might have seen earlier about GenAI. Right? There's a lot of hype around this. It's been the talk of the town for the last year or more. But today we're not going to talk about theory or possibilities. We will be very specific. We're going to talk about actual real-world applications of GenAI, of products where this is actually being operationalized, being used in production environments by customers that are seeing results. So instead of going breadth first, we're going to go depth first. And we're going to take a domain of cybersecurity, which is both my expertise. I've been in cyber for the last 15 years, been in product management for the last 10. And we'll take a deep dive and see how it works. We will also, for any PMs out there, or anyone budding to get into product management, we will talk about how GenAI can be used, or learnings from this specific product application can be applied more generally in your PM work out there. So that is the crux of today's conversation. Before I get started, a little bit of housekeeping here. Please keep this interactive. Please ask us questions. Please use the Q&A function. I see there's some questions in there already. Please use them throughout this session. I will answer those, or I will ask our guests those questions live, and we'll try to get to as many as possible during the session itself. Somebody has asked us already, will you have a recording of this? Yes. Everyone who has signed up will get a recording of this presentation, of the slides, and we will also be hosting this on the Products That Count website, so you'll be able to see it later on if you'd like. And I'm sure that both myself and our guest would be happy to connect with you after the session over LinkedIn to connect with you, talk about this topic, see if you have any questions or not. So that's the housekeeping stuff. Let us get into the session itself. And before we jump into the meat of the content, let me introduce our speaker for today. Our speaker for today is Deepak Dalvi. He is the Vice President of Product Management at a security company called Trellix. And I'll let him dive into his bio a little bit more deeper. But Deepak and I know each other for a long time now. We first met, I believe, 15 or 14 years ago, where we worked together. We worked together at Symantec, where I was an engineer, Deepak was on the product side, and we worked closely there for several years. And more recently, when I was at Lacework, Deepak was a senior director of product management for cloud security, and he actually hired me into Lacework. So we've had a chance to work together quite a bit. I know him pretty well, both in my personal life as well as in my professional life. So let me turn this over to Deepak. I have two questions for you, Deepak, leading into this. Can you introduce yourself, and can you talk a little bit more about your product journey? How did you get into product management? What are the different steps? And for the PMs or budding PMs out there, help us about a journey into the VP of product.
Hey, Nisarg, first of all, thank you for inviting me here. And hi, everyone. I'm Deepak Dalvi. As Nisarg introduced me, I'm head of products and VP for cybersecurity giant called Trellix. Trellix, those of you who have not heard of this name before, it's an amalgamation of two cybersecurity companies called McAfee Enterprise and FireEye. While FireEye products are well known for various cybersecurity and forensic analysis for network, endpoints, email, so on and so forth, McAfee Enterprise products have offered layered threat protection controls across various vectors for decades. Both of these companies have synergies across threat intelligence, incident response, and set of IPs across endpoint network, several vectors like email, so on and so forth. To the second question that Nisarg asked about my journey. So I started my career as a developer after my postgrad in scientific computing over a couple of decades ago. I am kind of dating myself there. I spent initial decade of my career building products. Over those years, I learned various approaches of how to solve problems with automation, build optimized code that's scalable, performant, implemented various types of architectures and patterns. My journey in product management role started as a hybrid engineering program product owner roles, and that gravitated me to the customer-facing functions. I also realized that the problem paradigms quickly shifted to solutions and jobs to be done, right? And that should be a complete package. And I took the plunge into product management track. So I hope that that answers your question, kind of gets me oriented on who I am and what company I work for.
It does. Thank you for that, Deepak. Really appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about this topic. Why did you pick this specific topic of GenAI? And what is there anything unique about GenAI and cybersecurity specifically?
Sure. Well, a couple of reasons. One is generative AI is a hot topic, right? I think there are a lot of different applications of ChatGPT and other forms of generative AI, but that's not the primary reason. Parallel computing, neural networks, and AI has been closer to my heart for a long time. Products and technologies have also evolved in the past decade, more since machine learning was used for processing large volumes of data, predicting aspects like credit analysis, fraud detection, so on and so forth. So secondly, cybersecurity is the domain of my research and practice. So in recent times, with the advent of generative pre-trained transformer or GPT, right, models, text generation, image generation, other larger context generation capabilities have changed dramatically. Aspects like creation of newer code, optimization of code, numerous assistive technologies and applications of GenAI has revolutionized the world, including how threat actors think about attacks and how security product companies and security teams think about defending against those attacks.
That is awesome. How can PMs leverage GenAI? How can they learn more about GenAI or AI in general to further their PM careers?
That's an excellent question. Well, I've been a product manager for some time, and depending on what the maturity of our product manager audience is, PMs need to embrace the revolutionary impact of generative AI, regardless of whether you're building products for a product-led growth company or PLG or a sales-led growth company. Having a foresight on possibilities of using modern technologies like GenAI will greatly speed up innovation, product velocity, as well as some of the aspects around usability. And I'm going to cover a few aspects during this session on what PMs can do to create a positive impact and accelerate their product growth. Aspects like being the voice of the customer, failing fast, learning and pivoting quickly, and investing in tech partnerships. So I'm going to get into some of the details as a part of my my presentation.
That is awesome. So having said that, why don't we actually get into the meat of the content? We will do about 30 minutes or so of the actual content. Please, for the audience, please pause us, and we'd love to answer any questions. If you have, send them through the webinar chat function, and then we'll leave time at the end to answer anything else that you might want to ask us. So with that, Deepak, please take it away.
Thank you, Nisarg. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully that's visible to everyone.
I can see it.
All right. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I've already introduced myself, so I'm going to skip, and talk about Trellix, a little bit about the company, because I'm going to get into some of the aspects of the products that we build here, how we serve our customers, how we partner with our customers, so on and so forth. Trellix is a cybersecurity product company with a rich set of IPs from McAfee and FireEye. We have multiple decades of battle-tested products with customers across the globe. We pretty much serve all the continents and reasonably all the continents, right? And our products are deployed in pretty much every type of environment, be it cloud connected, be it some of the constrained environments and completely on-premise environments. Trellix as a company was founded in 2022, and we've seen a lot of product process, people unification, as well as innovation across both sides of the products. In the last 12 months, it was pretty exciting for us as we took bigger strides in product innovation, user experience, performance, scale, and integration. Now, what we do as a company is we secure endpoints. Endpoints are nothing but any device, be it a mobile device, be it a laptop PC, a desktop PC, VDI devices, so on and so forth. It could be networks, data, email. These are various form factors, various cloud-based assets, so on and so forth. And we are one of the largest threat. We also have one of the largest threat intel sources because our products are deployed on hundreds of millions of endpoints. As you can see here, all the security stack is powered by various forms of AI, ML, that is artificial intelligence and ML, machine learning algorithms. It is powered by ML-based engines and detection capabilities. And a lot of that is based on our Advanced Research Center's threat intel databases. Before we dive deeper into generative AI, it's important to take a step back and talk about the progression on AI-based models. Now, when we talk about AI going from top down, right, or outside in, AI offers ability for machines to learn and exhibit human-like intelligence. When you look at machine learning, it offers ability for machines to learn based on data, patterns, and perform actions that are not explicitly programmed. It has an ability to understand various patterns and exhibit certain and take certain actions based on those patterns. Some of the examples there could be impossible travel. For example, you have large data set of geographical data. You have data set around when someone is interacting with your systems, and when people are when you observe be it a log on from two different parts of the geographies in a very short span of time, you know that that kind of travel is impossible. And you would typically call this as an anomaly. Large volumes of data transfers is another anomaly, right? So these are the types of capabilities that can be easily built using machine learning algorithms. Next aspect is artificial neural networks. This is where the machine learning models are brain inspired, and the way brain works in terms of our nervous system, there are neurons, there is specific type of data transfer right across those neurons. That is how the data is transferred, computed, and matched. There are deep learning capabilities. These are multi-layered neural networks to extract complex patterns. As you can see here, there are various tokens. There are various parameters, like, endpoint could be one of the aspects for endpoint as an host with an IP. There could be a user as another element there. How these elements interact with each other, how they are connected with each other, and what kind of context are you looking for in terms of identifying behaviors and predicting certain types of anomalies. Finally, generative AI is creating models and systems that can create new and original content. It is not just searching for data or searching for needle in a haystack. Let me talk a little bit about.
I have just Deepak, a quick question coming to mind there, if I may pause you for a second.
Sure.
There's this hype around GenAI, and there is people think of GenAI as this paradigm shift in solutions technology, in computing power. But AI has been around for a long time. Like you said about Trellix, you and I have been working at Lacework, who started using ML in 2015. As PMs, how much do I need to care about the different AI subsets? Does it not matter? Does it really matter? How deep do I need to go in the different subsets that you're showing there?
Honestly, that's a very good segue into my next slide, because that is where I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening across the industry. So when
Okay.
I look at AI at Trellix, I've been here for close to 18 months, not more than that, but I see that there are different forms of AI that is already very, very much existent across various applications and products across the industry. For example, if you look at the Trellix journey, we have years of expertise starting 2010 in machine learning and AI. In 2010, there were multi-vector machine analysis to surface security insights and prevent threats. In 2016, there were machine learning-based protection technology. This was based on behavior that goes beyond signature-based threat blocking. Around 2017, there was deep learning capabilities for AI-guided response that was produced by Trellix. And 2020, there was ML-powered, say, ransomware attack recovery, automated actions using AI, neural networks, and deeper learning. As of today, now you're hearing about various generative AI applications. For example, Trellix Wise, towards the right-hand side, you can see this is the state-of-art capability that we have that generates newer alert context, triages alerts, offers remediation guidance, so on and so forth. So the applications around AI are changing, they are evolving. And as far as product management, the product organizations are concerned, they should learn the benefits of how to use these innovations, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you go about identifying opportunities for your products, for your customers and your teams. But as you can see, as the tech is evolving, as it's maturing, as the compute power is increasing, you can throw more and more tech at solving problems that were either unsolved or at times you're solving newer problems. I hope that kind of answers your question.
It does. Thank you for the Deepak. Yeah, this is great to see.
All right, great question. Thanks for posting that. Now, let me talk a little bit about applications of GenAI. So when we talk about generative AI, one of the most commonly found use cases of generative AI is being an assistive tech. It's generating newer insights. It has an ability to support customers, say, find the right set of details, support employees, find right set of references and resources. Some of the applications are around finding, say, right support KB articles, right? These are very common applications that you see across the industry. Now, these are some of the early adopter use cases. You might have heard of creating images and videos. Now, some of them are, of course, fake videos and fake images, but you can do those. You can, create those based on imagination in the form of a natural language text. For example, you have an image, there is a photo bomber, you want to just eliminate the photo bomber, you give an instruction and the tech can do it for you, right? It's convenient. Sometimes there are applications that are advantageous. Sometimes there are applications that can be malicious as well. You can collect a lot of additional information and data using generative AI. This is where data agents collect data based on behaviors, based on needs, and they are not constantly constantly generating a lot of data for storage, and they're not increasing storage costs. You're also, what we are seeing is generative AI is being used by development teams, even in our company, right? Various teams have adopted generative AI to write code that is similar. For example, collectors or connectors. If you are developing connectors that, for various integrations, you could use generative AI and give it, necessary paradigm, the semantics, and it will generate code to connect across applications. There are security-specific functions for detections and response that are helping teams be more effective and efficient. I'm going to talk a little bit about the jobs to be done, because this is where you can probably relate to some of the use cases. Just to get everyone oriented on this image, on the left-hand side, you can see various sources of data that security technologies would collect. For example, You would want to know who are the users, what is the cloud activity, what are the applications, what's happening in terms of user activity on endpoints, servers, network, so on and so forth, various form factors. All of that data gets collected. That is activity data. Now, anything that is of security interest would be converted into alerts. Activity data is called as event. Something happened. Anything of security interest is, well, something interesting happened and someone should look at it. Now, when you build enough confidence around a malicious activity, you would translate that, convert that into an incident or a case that needs to be investigated. Now, that's the workflow in terms of data. When you look at the right-hand side, there are various functions. For example, a SOC admin or Security Operations Center admin would typically be responsible for deploying the tech, tuning policies or configurations and rules that would identify good versus bad, what is of interest, security interest, what is deemed malicious versus benign, so on and so forth. And when those alerts are generated, your level 1 analyst would typically look through the stack of alerts and identify which one are genuine versus which ones are probably false positives, right? And then level 2 analysts would further assess the risk and would be responsible for responding to those alerts. That's a typical workflow. In advanced security operations centers, you'll also see level 3 analysts that want to stay ahead of the curve, ahead of the attackers, and they would want to hunt for various threats, various indicators of compromise and attack, and understand the blast radius. So these are some of the personas that are typically involved. When we look at the generative AI benefits, as I mentioned earlier, Trellix Wise, that is our brand name for generative AI implementation at Trellix, uses GenAI to deliver newer detections, visualization, as well as response capabilities. Generative AI is solving some of the unsolved problems in the industry, aspects like accurately summarizing threats, multilingual translations, and threat hunting. This is specifically useful for a company like us because there are many users of our products that span across Asia Pacific, Middle East, a lot of European countries, and even in those regions, language is of a huge importance. These customers would want to do businesses in their native languages, and getting constrained on a tool or a platform where you cannot use your native language is no longer a constraint. Now you can do threat hunting using French, German, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, so on and so forth. So that's a huge benefit. Remediation guidance is another big benefit, providing the right level of information options on how to remediate from situations. Enriching security context and helping users generate text from hundreds of data points to produce, say, meaningful insights, reliable and relevant security context. Triaging alerts. Now, I talked about how events get converted into alerts. There are many security tools where, in case of various, say, purple team testing exercises, or if there is an active attack, there would be several alerts that may get generated. And identifying the malicious events, malicious alerts from benign, or differentiating those becomes a huge task. There are many security organizations that are not able to triage more than 60 to 80% of the alerts. And that's where generative AI can help our customers and these analysts triage 100% of the alerts, identify whether they are benign, whether there are enough data points to triangulate and confirm that it's an indicator of attack, versus whether it's a false positive and whether they can ignore it. Also assessing its own accuracy. So that's another important aspect. Generative AI can assess and provide information and reasons on how's the confidence over those alerts and the detections. All of that, whatever we discussed, was in the context of cybersecurity. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the generic aspects of product management. This is where I think innovation mindset is very crucial for PMs. I would like to connect the dots from Nisarg's previous question on guidance for PMs, right? This is important for PMs because we want to lead with customer focus. That's one of the important pillars. We are the voice of the customer, and we want to find solutions to the real world problems rather than throwing too much of tech at the users. You want to build strong partnerships with customers, partners, and involve them in the process. So having a strong customer focus is important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the design partner programs that we've been very successful with in a bit. Second major aspect is experimentation. It's important, and at times, when technological advances like GenAI might end up solving problems that are not perceived as problems, challenge status quo with experimentation. And the next aspect is kind of related. Showing enough agility, be metrics driven, be agile, but be metrics driven, fail fast, and failure is not bad. Failing fast and pivoting is important. And another important pillar there is collaborations, having stronger partnerships, investing in tech partnerships, because you can't do everything by yourself at times, right? There may be certain aspects, certain reasons why you would want to build everything from scratch, but if you are partner driven, you could move faster. Be it partnership with cloud partners like AWS, GCP, Azure, or service partners that would consume your products, services, and build and deliver newer value. So that a better together, stronger together story takes you a long way, right? Now, when I want to dive deeper into every aspect of those four pillars, first of all, customer focus. Defining and identifying the market opportunity, sample customers, ideal customer profile, the personas that would typically benefit from the implementation, defining problem statements and possible solutions. Again, all of that is important. Building and prototyping, quickly coming up with visualizations, workflows, something that is working, validating it with customers, storyboarding it, and looking for newer opportunities to either give that operational efficiency or the value back to the customers, so that there is higher adoption of those features, right? And then refining and getting a continuous feedback from those design partners, those customers, those internal as well as external users, finding the launch partners so that you can take the innovation to the market. And you should also look for building, I would say, partnerships within your organization, so that when you're ready to take, they are also amplifying the value that, say, your product or engineering teams are producing, and getting you the right customer and partner outreach. So this is a sample design partnership schedule. This is what we used. Again, the important aspects here are customer identification, how you go about nurturing those partnerships, scheduling pre-boarding calls, kicking it off with a customer, going through a technical know-how session, sharing the outcomes of prototypes, feedback sessions. Feedback loop is very important because you want to learn. You just don't want to deliver things and forget about it and not have enough data points. Build confidence for your teams. Engineering teams would also appreciate those testimonials and quotes from the customers, or the questions and the feedback. And finally, give the value back and close it out with the customer and figure out how you're going to take it to the market, right? This is one of the sample schedules, but again, you can have, depending on your product features and life cycles, you can decide how you want to take it to the market. Next aspect is using the tools to innovate and prioritize. Just to get everyone oriented here, there is an x-axis and a y-axis. On x-axis, you can see proactive to reactive set of security controls. On y-axis, you can see guidance, remediation guidance to full automation. And there are various features that are depicted as bubbles. The size of the bubble indicates the frequency of the ask. Now, using tools like this would give you clarity on what are the key asks from the customers, what are the problem areas that you want to target, what is easier to implement, what is easier to adopt for a customer versus what adds friction, right, in terms of adoption, implementation, so on and so forth. And then you can create a roadmap for yourself, for your teams, to go through the incremental value add for your customers. Agility and metrics driven. This is where we have an example of how we defined certain metrics around operational efficiency accuracy and overall user experience. We have, for example, faster detection. We continuously measured what is the value that generative AI brings to our customers. We noticed 40 times faster detection. That was a huge, I would say, selling point for our sales teams as well as our customer success teams. It enabled customers to focus on what matters most, removing the obstacle of choosing between speed and accuracy. Efficiency with respect to investigations. When we auto triage 100% of the alerts, that allowed our users to review alert details, its context, visualization of data relationships, so on and so forth. Effective response, comparisons on current versus improved user experience with the newer features, and reporting, clarity of information on when something happened, why it happened, who did it impact, and how a threat entered a customer environment. Economical management. This is where it leading to operational efficiency, to drive some of the innovation and people productivity. This kind of encourages the users to build confidence and for the teams to talk about some of those differentiators. Finally, I'm going to...
there's a couple of questions I want to bring in, which is about your slide you have up right before this one. They're both related, so I'll ask you at the same time. The first one is around, SPMs. How do you get buy-in to implement GenAI projects? And the second one is slightly related, but also a little different. It's about overcoming customer skepticism around GenAI. Customers are not necessarily asking for GenAI. They're asking for a solution which might happen to use GenAI, but they're skeptical that a GenAI solution might not be impactful or effective, or might have hallucinations or other things. So how do you get over these two obstacles of skepticism from customers as well as internal buy-in?
Yeah, great questions, because we have gone through similar stages of, first of all, whether generative AI is matured enough. Second is, can it replace the tech that we have built over the years? And I think that's where I would say experimentation is the best form of either accepting or denying the possibility of its benefit, right? It's a technological advancement. You need to also evaluate if you have problem statements that need generative AI. You cannot use generative AI to solve predictive AI problems, right? They are already solved. They are solvable using predictive AI models. Generative AI has its own benefits about generating newer context, right? Thinking human-like. For example, our EDR platform offered great deal of insights in terms of various data points. Now, when we started working with some of our customers and users, we realized that their SOC teams, and when we started understanding why their SOC teams are not able to triage all the alerts, they were getting constrained by, first of all, the depth of knowledge that these SOC analysts had. Second is the volume of alerts that they were getting, right? And we started addressing both aspects. One is, how do you deal with managing first of all, how do we deal with triaging the alerts, right? Can we auto triage it for them? And those were some of the concepts that we started with as use cases and maybe the solution statements. And second aspect is, how do you sell that value in terms of operational efficiency to these users? So when we did the math, there were, of course, it started with experiments. We did some initial measurements, and we also use our SOC teams as our customer zero, so that's very important. Validating some of those ideas even before you start experimenting or while you are in the initial phases is very important. They shot down a lot of our ideas because they felt that it's not going to solve their problem. It's technologically, it creates a wow factor, but it's not solving the real life challenges. So initial validation, any form of mock-ups, any form of whiteboarding with these customers, and then tying it back to certain models, like some certain revenue models and revenue potentials would get you the initial buy-in, internal buy-in.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And sure. And the second part of the question was mostly related to the external adoption. Is that right, Mr. Sarkis?
It was around external skepticism that GenAI is impactful or not.
Yeah, so I think that is where we also need to learn some of the aspects around how overall industry and laws of the land are governing generative AI and advancements around Gen AI. For example, there was a US directive that outlined certain usages of AI and AI-driven technologies, making sure that there are data residency constraints, responsible AI usage. So product managers also need to do their research around some of those aspects because they are essential for adoption of these innovations by the customers and tech. Whether the tech is, say, for example, ready to be consumed by federal customers, are there any FedRAMP or certification requirements? Do your partners that you depend on for offering, say, large language models or underlying infrastructure, whether their tech is certified and if you have any dependencies? Depending on that, you kind of decide on what your customer profile is and how you target your features and markets.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so that brings me to the final slide there that is more about collaborations and partnerships. I think my call out here is invest in technology partners early. Technology partners will provide various aspects around, they'll provide updates around what's happening on their side, what innovations they are doing. These partners could be cloud service providers, the hyperscalers like AWS, GCP, or Azure. They would also understand the needs and applications and the real life challenges that your customers are facing that you're trying to solve for. And they might come up with innovative solutions, right? And you need their support in terms of coming up with a scalable and performance solution. They would also give you estimates. They would work with you on compute and storage needs, the components that are needed for, say, compute visualization, so on and so forth. Stronger partnerships would also drive scalable and comprehensive solution, and you can build momentum with their sales and marketing teams to go with a better together story and go with joint go-to-market. So this is where we partnered with AWS for their Bedrock platform, and we've joined go-to-market partnership with AWS for Trellix Wise. And again, by no means I claim to be an AI or generative AI expert, but what I've done is I've put together our journey and what I've worked with some of the excellent engineers and architects in the industry, and the applications built by us are well appreciated by our customers. I'm trying to share what our success story here was, as well as our learnings. Of course, I would be happy to learn if anyone has any other experiences and questions as a part of their GenAI journey. With that, I'll conclude my targeted content, Nisarg, and I'll open it up for questions.
Sure. Thank you so much for that, Deepak. We do have a couple of questions, and please keep them coming through the webinar chat if you don't have them. There is one around security concerns. How do you get over security concerns about GenAI? Are they real? And how do you work through those?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get this question all the time from our customers, right? Couple of things. One is when we talk about large language models, there are questions around who has created the model, how can that model be influenced by certain attackers, certain state actors, so that they can hide under they can go below the radar and still go through your defenses. Stuff like that, right? These are real life questions and challenges. That's where there are certain constraints. First of all, it's not easy to influence these models. These are targeted models. Hallucinations are real. There could be different reasons, right? This is where the technical teams, the architects, and the data scientists, they need to look at how you're tokenizing, what tokens are you using, how are you, creating aspects and models that would eliminate the bias. So there are aspects around whether you should be using large language models versus small language models. It totally depends on your use case. There are enough options that are made available by hyperscalers so that you can localize some of that impact within specific geographies and regions. So there are definitely enough guardrails that are either put together by the hyperscalers, or in certain cases for sensitive customers. And of course, Trellix deals with a lot of federal customers. We do offer models that are completely constrained or restricted within certain geographies and certain environments like Golf Cloud, so on and so forth.
Okay, a couple more questions. Number one is, it seems that the implementation of GenAI in a solution or not is a decision for engineering. Why or how should PMs care about it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question and a viewpoint. I would say generative AI is a means to achieve certain outcomes. It's not just engineering. I think product. At least in my organization and my product lifetime so far, opportunities like generative AI would help you identify problems that are not identified as problems. For example, operational efficiency of a SOC team, right? Now, a SOC function is operating with a certain capacity, and they can triage certain alerts that are, based on the basic laws of physics. How much can a person digest and process in a day? Now, if you pre-process something, if the system does the job and provides a human-like behavior, would it speed up your your processing and improve your productivity? I think the answer is yes. Connecting the dots, how you represent data, can it be represented differently? Can it be interpreted differently by different SOC personas? Yes. Does it affect their productivity, their ability to react and respond? Yes. Does remediation guidance support these SOC personas take better actions? And maybe a one-click response, if you create associated with a playbook, can you take faster actions and reduce the mean time to detect or respond? Again, the answer is yes. So overall, it creates those differentiators that would help these products excel and be better products as compared to competition, as well as in certain cases, I think it's not necessarily just a competition, stay ahead of the attackers, right? Because attackers are now using modern tech like GenAI to say review the content, the text, create newer code and newer forms of attack, and that's going to create a lot of possibility of zero-day attacks.
Okay, awesome. So on that same note and kind of related to what you said, the question is about costs of GenAI. You mentioned the benefits. You mentioned reduction in MTTR and reduction in development time. All these cool benefits after implementing GenAI. Is it cost effective? Because there's a cost to research, there's a cost to development, there's ongoing operational costs with implementing and utilizing GenAI. In your experience at Trellix, have you found that the benefits outweigh the costs?
That's an excellent question. I did not cover cost-related aspects here, but let me talk a little bit about two different models. It depends on your implementation, whether it's cost-effective or not. Ultimately, customers are looking for total cost of ownership. Either they are going to pay for products, or they might end up using their own service accounts and take advantage of generative AI. And we have both the implementations that are possible. Our XDR platform uses a model where we give them an ability to send data within their environment, within their AWS environment to AWS Bedrock, and they get the response back. So they are in complete control of their costs. With respect to EDR, our model is it's all fully contained within our infrastructure, and there is a COGS that we bear, and there is an added value that they get. They don't have to worry about opening a paycheck to AWS, so they are not using it as a pay-as-you-go service. So depending on whether you have CapEx or OpEx budget, how your features are most likely to be adopted, you can decide which models you use. It's also important for teams to implement the models correctly. There are other aspects beyond cost, for example, performance impact. There are edge implementation of GenAI, right? That's still upcoming. That's still getting refined. You can use small language models for that. If you're using large language models, it depends on how many tokens you want the model to be supporting for the value that you're trying to generate, right? And all of that would lead to will have impact on the costs.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Deepak. We're almost
Another,
out of time here. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
another aspect that I would like to call out is the friction associated with these costing models.
Ah,
As much as possible, when you create newer value, I would recommend sticking to the basic metering that you're using for your products. That way, you're suddenly not introducing a new meter. For example, generative AI, the way hyperscalers typically charge you is based on the amount of data, number of queries, number of tokens that you're using, so on and so forth, right? And your products may not be getting metered they may not have data meters. So as long as you have enough experimentation, enough metrics around how you translate that into the usage, your primary meter, and you have an ability to extrapolate it and translate that as an add-on, I think those services are likely to be better adopted.
that is an excellent point. Don't change your metering as you introduce these capabilities. Okay, we're almost at time. I just have one more question, and it's kind of a tricky one because it's going to ask you to do a little bit of fortune telling, but I'll ask it anyway. The question is about predicting the future. GenAI, just like anything else, is a really hyped up technology. And if you look at Gartner's hype cycle, we are not close to peak hype or getting on the peak hype, and kind of going to go down into the trough of disillusionment. Why, or do you think that GenAI is going to be one of those technologies that gets really hyped, like you've seen before, and then falls away and does not really reach any material impact? Or do you think GenAI is different and is going to actually lead to really good outcomes for years or decades to come? So you can't obviously know this, but a little bit of prediction of the future and what your outlook here is.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll take a stab at it because you're asking me to predict, right? My take there is generative AI as a tech is still maturing. That's number one. The kind of applications that we have seen in the wild across the industry, be it cybersecurity or beyond, it's still in the nascent stages. I think the technology is going to mature and it's going to be subsumed. It's going to create a huge impact on how people perceive access to information. It offers great deal of value in terms of assistive tech, right? There are also concerns around whether it's going to replace a lot of jobs and stuff like that. When you talk about operational efficiency, I think we as people across the industry are not able to keep up with the volume of work that's being generated, right? There are fewer people who are, say, looking at the alerts, who are trying to process data. These assistive techs that we are building using generative AI are going to be life-changing, produce those life-changing and assistive capabilities for across various implementations, across various domains. And once they are subsumed, they will become the norm. So I don't think the tech is going anywhere. It's going to help us solve some of those unsolved problems, improve operational efficiency, and stay tuned for newer applications and implementations of generative AI. You don't have to probably remember a lot of things. generative AI is going to do the searching, provide the right context, and help you do your jobs better.
That is awesome. I completely agree. I think we've barely scratched the surface of the applicability of GenAI yet, and we'll see that for hopefully years and decades to come. That was awesome. That's all the questions I have. Thank you so much, Deepak, for answering those and being patient with those. And thank you to everyone who attended. I hope you found value and use in that. I definitely found, learned a lot there. Stuff around the costing and metering was really insightful that I hadn't considered myself. So thank you so much, Deepak, for sharing your wealth of knowledge in this space. Hopefully future PMs find this useful. And I will catch you all on the next PTC webinar next month. Thank you so much for attending. Cheers.